Let's continue with some minor but important things. So we're going to go in from the passenger headlight onto where the cam girdle seals are. Cam girdle seals are an engine out job, but we are going to see if, because this car was sitting with the previous owner, if that gasket has swelled up and resealed itself. So it's going to be a delicate cleaning job until we determine when engine out time is going to be for this car. Alright, so with the difficulty of lighting, this is the best angle you're going to get. You see how there's oil caked up there? It's a little bit further up there too, near the valve cover gasket. So I'm just going to use a remaining brass brush from the Carbon Clean series with some very liberal use of brake cleaner and rags to clean all of that up, and we'll see if it comes back after the car gets run. So there's a bit better of a view. You can see it, a little bit of oil and sludge caked up there. Now this curvy coolant hose, I'm pretty sure I can do later if something happens to it by just removing the headlights, so I'm not going to change that, and all the clamps are so up high that they don't have rust on them. But moving along here, we're still on the passenger side. Right there in the center of the screen, you see that really rusty clamp. So we're going to follow that down, and there is a coolant hose there, which I'm going to remove because there's corrosion and rusty clamps, and this seems like a service position coolant hose removal. So I really don't think I can film this one, but I'm going to try to use needle nose pliers and 90-degree picks, and I will let you guys know how it goes once the part is out and how I approached it. And for the 600th time, I'm going to clean this oil leak from the oil cooler line O-rings first. And what's happening is it's not even that I'm positioning my jug tube thing incorrectly. It actually leaks from the block side, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, just put those back. I'm not going to put them back just because I don't want to. So yeah. Can of brake clean and those thin brass brushes. This might not be a great idea, but I don't think it'll damage the sealant if I'm very gentle with it on the cam girdle seal at the front. Now the brake cleaner, I really don't care if it damages the plastic, if it pours on it, because that plastic is shot beyond recognition anyways. But the only way I can clean up this rad to see if it's leaking when we turn on the car again in service position is if it's clean. So I'm just going to blast it with brake clean. Hopefully we don't get it on any bad components, but I want to get all of the coolant residue out so that if we need a new aux rad, we get a new aux rad. I really don't want to delete it, but we might have a delete video before this car gets back on the road as well. So these cleaning items are what I'm going to do next, and I'll check back with you in a short bit. Alright, so this junk as usual does not work on those clamps. My bent nose pliers aren't working. I might have some luck with those pliers if I can get my arm deep in enough in the service position valley. You can see here that I've put a 90-degree pick through the headlight straight down into the coolant hose so that once I get that clamp loosened with one hand, I can yank the coolant hose off. Now on the far right middle of your center screen is that crash sensor for the airbags. I have my battery still connected because I have my battery maintainer, but if you think you're sloppy, definitely disconnect this, because if that wire gets caught up in your pick or you do something violently or stupid, you are going to possibly have a problem on your hands. So that is the main thing with this coolant hose if you're doing it in service position, but it really seems like a coolant hose that was meant to be taken off, engine out or front clip off. So let's see if I figure this out. Come time for reinstall, I'm going to get a high quality remote hose clamp pliers because these Princess Auto ones are crap. I've said it a million times. And the other thing is, if I have serious trouble, I am going to resort to worm clamps on some of these because it would make this a million times better. I've never had an issue with the worm clamp. There's a lot of hate in the automotive community for those. But if I need to, that's what I'll do. So I'll buy a tool for reinstall, or I'll use worm clamps on reinstall. Now, this is where I sent my pliers in from. Same technique with that one water pump hose that you remember I had trouble with, I sent the handle in underneath this bracket here, and I was able to grip the clamp. But the actual hose, like, you need 3 hands. If you have 2 people, you could do this. But trying to put pressure on this and pushing the hose in at the same time to access that rusted clamp, it's just too many hands required. So I'm going to cut the hose, because once the hose is out of my way, accessing those clamps is going to be much simpler, and we'll see how it goes. But a good set of remote hose clamp pliers and this would be pretty easy. And yeah, I'm not going to repeat, but let's see what I do next. But right now I'm going to cut this hose in 2 places, because both the top clamp and the bottom clamp will be much easier to access in service position like this. Alright, so actually I'm not going to cut the hose. These shorter handle rusty needle nose, I got them in there, but there wasn't enough space with the pick there for me to squeeze them. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to put a zip tie loosely over the handles here, and then once I get in position, I'm going to tighten the zip tie on the clamp and then pull on the pick and see if that works. But the shorter handles helped get underneath this bracket here. Alright, so this here is what I'm going to try. So once that's in there, clamped on, pull the zip tie, should hold. Alright, none of that stuff with the zip tie or the pliers worked. I need help here. Whatever, I'll keep trying something else. Alright, so a bit of success. The red short ones, I was able to, the little bracket there for the crash strut, whatever they're called, will fall out from behind. Just make sure you put that back when things wobble. But see that hose clamp there? I was able to go upwards with the normal needle nose and crack that one loose and send it up the hose. So let's try to remove the bottom portion and then we'll go back to the top portion. But that was through the service position, 2-inch space, straight under access. The other, there are more coolant hoses down there, but that I can all do out of service position. I just do not want to do service position with a body shop car like this again until I have to remove the motor. So if there's any other coolant leaks, I can get to them without service position most likely. But this hose is definite service position, front clip off or engine out hose. So we got to figure it out. Seal braking for this hose, it's on there really tight. It wouldn't pull off. I just got a 90-degree pick through the shock, what do they call them, crash strut shocks hole, and I work my way around and then I'm gonna pull it out. So that's a 90-degree pick in there. So I gotta get back under there and move the clamp even further up. It's not off the hose yet. With maximum force at the top, I couldn't pull the hose out. Now, besides the crash sensor I told you have to be very careful of with your violent pulls over here, you also have to be very careful of all these delicate vacuum hoses and little wires all at the front, okay? You can easily catch up in these things if you're not very focused. So I'm going to go back under with the red needle nose and move that clamp further up now. Alright, I almost injured myself there. But the final thing I did was I really squeezed out the hose with one hand, and then I needle nosed it with these blue ones from the top. I was able to get enough force on the clamp and pulled it even further up the hose. So let's just go back with the pick and see if that clamp has been moved up far enough now that I can break the seal and just pull it up. That hose was really seized in there. So with the pick inside and pulling up with force by hand, I barely budged it. I brought the 90-degree pick out, stabbed into the coolant hose, pulled straight up, and I finally got it off. Now that aluminum hose down there, you're going to see it move a lot, but it's not as sensitive as the ones on the driver's side because it doesn't connect to a hard piece of metal, like a hard body metal. It's actually just a pass-through, so it's a short piece of aluminum hose that then hooks up to more soft hoses. Okay, so you still got to be careful not to break it, but if you see that thing moving around, it's not that big of a deal. But you got to be really careful in this area. So I pulled straight up from this area here and I got that side off. Now, my knife was a bit dull and wasn't cutting the hose, but let's see how the attempts with the more difficult clamp are going to be now that we've got that side out. One reason I don't want to cut these hoses is because when I put all my parts out to recognize them and make my big parts order, I don't want cut pieces of hose confusing me, okay? So, what's working right now? Now that I got the bottom part off, there's this structural bracket you see there, and I just tucked it into there, the bottom portion, and the clamp is actually what's helping hold the hose there. So before, this hose was really pressing towards the front of the car, not allowing hand movement or needle nose pliers entrance, and you know what I mean, a person with two hands can now do better because you don't have to put pressure force on the hose to get it out of your way. Again, this is one of those jobs that with two people you will be far easier than this, but hey, we do a one person style because some of you are going to be alone. And yeah, let's see how long the RS4 legacies continue and you guys keep fixing these things. Okay, so now that we have this out of the way, I'm going to approach in from here again, from the headlight, with the blue pliers, because I can get more force with those. And let's see if I can move them towards me, the clamp, enough to pull the rest of the hose off. Alright, so I've since pushed that hose down. Cutting it is probably the next thing to do, but I tried all my tools, every style of pliers, and nothing's working, okay? It's just too much in the way. Because the problem is, you'd have to have some micro hands to be able to do anything inside of this service position with your hand not getting cut on the pulley. Not even cut, your hand just won't fit to function as a hand. And that's these stupid style of hose clamps. Yeah, I know these hose clamps seal better, but for install on these cars without removing everything, I absolutely hate these clamps. Again, I mean, there's gotta... Okay, I'm not gonna do the whole worm clamp speech again, but it's only the positioning of it. Like if this clamp, somebody had installed it vertically, say the ears, the two-piece ears, whatever these stupid things are called, were on top, I could easily access it from inside the headlight hole, and this would be done in 2 seconds. But the clamp is downwards. So for all of these things that I do in your cars, some brilliant person may have done it. Come on, focus, you junk camera. Some brilliant person may have put these clamps on in an orientation where you're going to have 10 times even harder of a time than me, because that's all that it is. It's how they put them in. And that's it. You have to figure it out from how they put it in. So whether this is from the factory or somebody put them in like this, I am just going to keep putting around with this and we'll see what happens. I'm trying not to cut the hose. I may have to if I get too frustrated soon. It's tomato season. I gotta stay positive. Alright, so I'm using a new blade, no knife on top of it, okay? Just cutting with a brand new blade. You have more control in there because you don't have enough space, and putting force and control with an actual Olfa knife is a lot less than just a brand new blade. So I used this. As you can see in the middle of your screen there, I cut the sheath first very easily with just the blade in my hand. And now I'm gently going to go in there and I'm going to cut the hose as close to the clamp as I can, because again, this is an odd shaped hose that comes outwards towards the front of the car and then curls back. It just curls 600 times. And it has a forceful curl that does not allow you to get Jokes DIY needle nose pliers in there like I'm using. So you're going to have to cut it if you're using the same type of tools and doing this in service position. So I left the knife there so that you can see it was not a one-handed work though, okay? Pinch it with your index finger and your thumb, right hand at the back, left hand at the front, and work that blade through the coolant hose smoothly and you will get it. So that piece fell right out the bottom. I'm going to keep it in that orientation to order parts. And over here now, yes, the terrible memories. This looks just like the hose on the water pump that I had a lot of trouble getting off of, but now that we're experienced with this ridiculous design that probably holds more pressure than worm clamps, but is stupid for removal on a vehicle in this position with this much complexity, let's figure out how to get it out. But my pliers should be able to go right by what's left of the hose now to be able to open the ears on that clamp. Alright, so I got a good feeling I'm going to get it. So before I do it, I want you guys to see where I'm feeding in the needle nose pliers from. So before I resort to the short handle, I stick to the long handle because it has more leverage to get the clamp open even further. Now you see where it is there. We'll move along here. You can see here from the other angle. Now, one hand obviously is going to go through the headlights for force, and the other one is going to grab the handle from through the crash strut shock hole. Okay? And the actual pliers are between the frame rail and the service position bracket, that 2-inch space. So, yeah, you guys hopefully can use this visual to figure it out. I don't know how well I can narrate this, but let me try this. If this doesn't work, I'm going to do it with the red one, and we'll see how we do. Alright, gets trickier. So nothing changed from what I just said, but you have to squeeze the pliers, like I said, but you have to push the hose clamp this way, and we're going to stab our 90-degree pick in the short remaining part of the hose and pull outwards and see if it works, because you got to trust me on this one. Your handles for your pliers get really stuck up in there. So actually, no, you know what? This is more ridiculous, so do what I just said as a last resort. I'm going to remove the blue ones, put in the red ones with the shorter handles, and I should be able to pull the clamp this way, the ideal way that we want. So I will check back with you, but you have that as a last resort, and so do I. So people who talk smoothly about these 2-ear clamps definitely have the front end off. If you're doing real work like this to do it without moving too much, God, you're going to want the person who created these. But okay, things can get worse with them. That's why I hate them so much. If you open up your clamps and you let go incorrectly, or you drop that clamp a little further, your ears can move into an even worse spot, making your access harder. So mine just fell further down towards the bottom of the car. So I'm going to have to figure something out. And now my clamp has moved too far towards the steering wheel. And now when I open it up, it's just a mess. Like the clamp is sideways on the hose. Stupid, man. This stuff is like Torx bolts. It's just for install at the factory. And people on the internet have built this giant, oh, you get a millionth of a pressure loss from a worm clamp, which is why these are so much better. I don't know, man. We'll keep trying it on these cars for a long time. Track them, whatever. Just pissed off, okay? I gotta figure this out right now. It never ceases to amaze me how millimetric they design these cars if you try to work on them with the engine in. The shock, crash shock, strut, gasket, metal gasket, stupid thing. I finally took it out because the extra few millimeters of clearance, I need it for my needle nose pliers. But you can just slide this back in. So, yeah. Man, you can't even use words you want on this platform because you don't know what kind of person is watching what you say and if your channel will ever make it anywhere. Pisses me off. So I can't say my true thoughts on these 2-ear clamps, but mine has moved far down enough that now even with the short-handled needle nose pliers, the crash strut shock hole is in the way. No way, no more. It's shifted down a few millimeters. Now I have to resort to some crazy method to get them off. So let's see what I do. And when I'm talking about platform, I'm talking about YouTube, not the RS4 platform. Although these guys could have done a few things differently too, but they're manufacturers. They don't care, okay? Install, send it out, go. Little bit of a marketing thing. And now you crazy Audi fixing people and whatnot, you can deal with it yourself. Alright, it's hillbilly RS4 time, okay? So that ratchet strap, it is not damaging the oil cooler. It is not damaging the plastic rad, anything, okay? I have weighted it. You see, if you were to bring the strap all the way up, you would start damaging stuff because you're going to put pressure on the oil cooler and stuff at the bottom there. The most ideal would have been if I could have found a hook point even closer to the floor of the garage there. But this is it, okay? I haven't ratchet strapped it yet, but I tested it just by pulling it, and it is going to hold just fine, and the pressure point, okay, is going to be that those two rusted plates that are kind of holders for all of the rads and everything. So with the most gentle force, I have to do this because of this one stupid two-eared hose clamp with my hillbilly needle nose plier style fixing and Audi tools. So I'm going to strap this very carefully. If anything starts getting pinched, we're going to go to a different method, okay? And right now it's still resting on that hitch and the rocks, okay? So there's enough space for the strap and the setup that we have underneath there. So once I pull that out, then there's going to be the few more millimeters of clearance that I need with the short-handled needle nose in order to put it down enough to where my two ears have dropped down towards the bottom of the car, towards the oil pan, to clamp it open. And remember, this piece of the crash strut shock is out too. So let me see if I can tighten the strap properly and I will get back to you. Alright, so Precision Hillbilly over here. This is the big catch, okay? That support bracket for all of these, the thick metal rusted on mine piece that you see there, you need to be just slightly on the right of the secondary oil cooler and all the other sandwich stuff down there. That is not that piece of metal. Any further over, like I had it before, like I moved the hitch to the other side and I moved the strap here. And as I tighten this and pull the carrier forward just a bit, hopefully no nasty sounds come, then we will have the carrier forward enough and pressure will only be on that metal piece at the bottom and obviously just a hair on the plastic at the back. But I have mathematized this stuff and you guys will see if everything becomes destroyed or not. But every time I move this carrier, even the slightest bit, coolant, the oil leak is fully back. And again, I never see where that oil leak comes from. If it comes from the block side, if it comes from the oil cooler lines. Alright, you guys are getting a gist of what this stuff is like to do with Honda Civic tools in a garage. And why those specialists charge you so much money. Okay, let's see if I figure this out without destroying more than I can possibly fix. Precision Hillbilly adjustment number 2. I moved the bungee to this side of the strap, okay? So now my strap has a complete, straight, everything, okay? It's not going to damage the wiring on any of that. So actually, this is much better now because the 2 points are, one, the strong bracket part at the front, and this service position piece here, oh my god, it transfers from plastic to metal to plastic. It's strong enough, okay? So this is one of the grab points, but let's see how it goes. Alright guys, so I didn't tripod it because everything's in the way. There's a ton of oil and coolant on the floor now. But if you look here, this service position stuff could be straight. It's still bent down. Very interestingly enough, with the way the forces went with all of this, there is little to no force at this part here. It's almost all, I could feel it from the bottom. It was pulling the service position thing out just like this. Okay, so very smoothly. And I was down there and I kept the strap on that 2-inch section where there's nothing there and it's only on the support bracket. And I was able to pull it out just enough. Everything's safe, no creaking, no breaking. But every time this carrier moves, welcome back oil and coolant leaks out of every port and hole. So I don't care if I roll all my clothes in at this point. I just want to get this clamp off and get the strap gone. Okay? Oh my god, if somebody comes home and opens this garage door though, whoo, buddy. Okay, I gotta be fast with this. Goodbye. Alright, everybody with a garage door opener is at home. So yeah, I'm not that crazy to take a risk like that, okay? That's not a funny comment what I made. That would have tore out the whole front carrier and the car would have been terribly damaged, most likely. So, but the fact that that random thought came into my head was very good, because for those of you that might have somebody showing up or you're doing it during the day and could open the garage door from outside, you will not be able to stop them before they tear out, the garage door tears out your front end, okay? So very important point, which I don't recommend this, you do hillbilly style, okay? It's a lot better if you just have two people and one person holds the carrier while you go in there with your needle nose pliers. But welcome to my style here. Alright, so I gave the ratchet strap even a few more clicks up while holding my ratcheting with one hand, holding my left hand on the correct spot so the strap doesn't slide off, because I got a serious issue here, okay? You see the clamp there? It slid down even further, and it's like on this weird angle where even when I am able to clamp it open, but when I come to pull it out, it digs into the piece of hose, so I might have to cut the hose right up to the clamp. But I'm going to try one more time now that I ratchet strapped a bit more and opened up a bit more safe space here. Alright, so I left that there just so you guys can kind of see what's going on. But look underneath the handle, you see that little opening aluminum tube that the other end of the hose is on? That is in the way now of the two ears because they've slid down so far when you have your hand on the pliers and you're trying to get under there to open the ears. So this is an absolute nightmare with these hillbilly tools. But I'm going to cut that hose right up to the clamp and see if I can just get in with the tips of those needle nose from an angle to take it off. Alright, thinking for a second, cutting the hose is not going to make any difference. Okay, that aluminum piece is in the way for any kind of a straight piece that you'd want to use. So the blue one we're going to try now because it actually has a longer needle grabbing section and the handles might bypass the aluminum tube, but let's try and see what happens. So the red one didn't work. And I keep giving a couple clicks to this and I'm starting to get scared. Nothing is broken or creaked yet, but the strap is also on that side. If I were to put the strap on this side, I'd trip over it and damage something. But look under here. Look at how crazy the oil leak is going now. Alright, let's keep going here. Alright, see, this is what happens when you get a little bit of tunnel vision. I keep thinking I'm completely out of luck and I'm strapping that more. This is definitely good for certain positions, okay, to open up some more space, but don't do that if you don't need to really. But I'm going to leave it there because it's opened a lot more hand space for me. And with the two ears, all the complaining that I've done that have now slid down, I should be able to get it from underneath. I am probably going to get a very sweet, you can see down there, oil bath in the back of my head. But I want to get this done and get that strap off before something makes a sound that could cost me maybe $1,500 to $3,000 more in parts. So we're trying to be budget for now with this car. Budget is even a word with B7 RS4s. Alright, so keeping it play by play. The blue one, I went from under. There's a ton of room now with this ratchet strap set up. And again, I opened it up. I let go of it. It fell a little further in. I went in there with the red one. And now here's the thing with your small pliers. If you lose it, okay, if it goes into the wrong place. With the small pliers, just open it up a hair and shift it over to the place straight up and down. And go back with your pliers that have more leverage and grip potential, if that makes any sense. Before I take this strap off, we'll go and see if we've damaged anything or anything's been overstretched, but because I really want to find out if there's a point where things are cracking or breaking or anything, right? Because the service position area has really not shifted much since I did this, but I didn't have my tripod set up. Honestly, I'm tired. But the carrier has moved a lot. We're going to go underneath right now and you're going to see how much the carrier has moved and what I'm saying with the blue pliers now that I'm going to go inside. So, okay. Alright, so I'm focused finally on the clamp. You can see that there, how easily I can get it. I can't really do this, and maybe I'll get a measuring tape to show you guys, but I am at a whole ton of space down here now. Had I done this with the water pump and everything, oh my god, things would have been a lot easier. Like, look at all this space. Look at all this. But this could be a very unsafe thing that I've been doing here, okay? But this is open maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 inches of space in between the front carrier. And nothing has creaked or damaged. So let's get this hose off first, and then I'll take you for a tour of have I costed another $3 grand in parts for myself. Well, YouTube, I'm not going to be violent here. Although I want to be quite violent. So you saw how I just bragged about having like 6 inches of space, but still the pulleys are in the way. So your needle nose pliers are not straight onto the ears, which means your pliers keep sliding off. So you have to transfer between the short handle, long handle, and it still slides off because the pulley's in the way. Doesn't matter if you have 7 inches of space, although it does help with your hands not banging up against stuff. So still, this was a good move, but I'm still struggling with it down there. But I think that going between the red and the blue pliers, I will get it. So check back with you in a few minutes. Oh, God forbid I ever find out who designed these 2-ear pliers. Not 2-ear pliers, these 2-ear hose clamps. I will find out who thought this was a brilliant idea. But whatever. Okay, so what's happening? I got a ton of space with my hands. The pulley's in the way when you do it from straight down. Now, if you try to come in on an angle because the ears keep popping off and keep moving with needle nose, what happens if you're not careful, the handle of your pliers are going to dig into your rad fins and you're not even going to realize it because you're too focused. So I'm grabbing it by the tips of the needle nose pliers right now, and it requires significant force. I'm also fighting this oil leak here because it's catching up to me to roll into my pants and legs, but I don't care about that too much. And why did this oil leak? I'm telling you, it's because of the whole strap thing, okay? There's a ton of oil inside the secondary oil cooler and the lines, and it just keeps coming and coming, and it tilts and blah, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to say is even now with 6 inches of space in there, you're still SOL because you got to be careful not to punch through the rad fins. I don't even know how they designed this to be so difficult with everything in the car, but this is just the way things were done on this car, so we got to deal with it. So I will slowly keep working at it and we'll deal with it. And that hitch, don't worry about it, okay? It's still on its position. It just slid out. The strap is holding everything, all right? I'm a precision hillbilly, okay? I'm not going to destroy this car. You guys will see. She will live again, and she will live again very strong. Yo, this car's going to make me cry. How many times am I going to have to go between these two pliers? Every time I get it to the point where I'm walking the clamp off with the blue one, it just lets go for some reason. Because the stupid hoses on this car are not straight. They all have 600 minuscule bends in random places for a hose that's 8 inches long. It's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous design. It could have been made far easier than this, but they don't care. They use their stupid computers and whatever fits wherever with 2 millimeters of clearance is what they put in the design. Alright, so enough with that rant. Yeah, the other obstacle is your own hands, okay? Between this entire area that I bragged about how much space there is, your own hands are obstacles. They'll hit up against the pulley, hit up against the rad, you open them up. So it's your hands plus the arms. I don't know, maybe those Knipex pliers, you gotta buy them or whatever, but I'm not spending more money than I have to. And I want to make all my videos for as long as I can for the least money budgeted people to be able to work on any of these cars, okay? I'm not trying to kill myself in the process. I might buy tools later on, but I'm going to keep going at it. But now it's the 3rd time that I was 2 millimeters from getting it off, and then it shifts into a terrible position and I got to go back in with the red one for 15 minutes. Oil leaks creeping up on us. Let's do it again, but let's see how many more rounds it takes. You guys can see I'm dying under there. Okay, here we are from this angle. So even with all this millions of miles of space, they've still somehow managed to make this clamp unremovable without taking the front clip off. I'm going to try entering from the headlight here because I'm okay, gotta watch out for the YouTube police too, to not say too much on this platform. So I'm done going in from the bottom, okay? 3 attempts, I'm done. The ears have jumped up again. You can see them right there. So I'm going to come back in from here and see if I can get them off. I don't want to set this vehicle on fire. I want to set something else on fire. But saying stuff like that on the internet is probably not a good idea. You see the hose there? I've already said it once, but it doesn't matter what angle you go in from, that aluminum hose is in the way. And plus, my clamp is now far more out. I might even be able to pull it out, but maybe I'll go on a frenzy of trying to yank the hose again because the clamp is sideways further out onto the tube. Oh man, so I'm just going to go from underneath in here, yank, pull. I'll tell you what ends up happening. Alright, so this is it. Oh, I don't even care if the camera shows it. You see where I am? Top of my handle's here. It's all blurred. I don't care at all for Canon autofocus. I got a ton of light in this garage. This crap should be working. But I'm going to go on to the ears, what I have left here. And it's fingertips, okay? From the top on this angle with the blue pliers and through the shock strut hole at the bottom with my left hand once I have the camera gone. This is 90% going to get it off. Well, that didn't work either. So the clamp is so sideways now that and it's so far off the aluminum part that I'm going to just slide a pick in there, a 90-degree pick, and I'm going to pull through the headlight hole from the little hole that I can get from the clamp that's through the thing. Hose, wow, whatever, air. I'm just going to pull on it, okay? Let's see what happens. So, the clamp was so sideways that the pick was in there and it was far off enough that it popped right off. When I did that, I heard a serious metallic thunk and the hitch finally fell out. But I told you the hitch was doing nothing. The strap is holding everything. So we beat the oil leak. Let's pry whatever's left of the hose off. Let me show you what we're dealing with here. So I'm just going to work the hose off there. If it's anything difficult, I'll let you know. But after this, let's get into, can you really pull the carrier this far forward and not bend, damage, and destroy anything until we do the first start and find out if we've damaged anything more. So, yeah. Alright, I'm going to try not to cry on camera, but I tried my poke the pick in and pull technique for this one. Canon autofocus to your grave. There's enough lighting in this garage. Okay, and I cut my hand on this when I came to pull it. So, if you're at this stage here, put a straight pick in, break the seal, don't get in a rush, and then grab it with some needle nose and pull it off. Or just pull it off by hand once you've really worked the seal with the straight pick inside from this angle, okay? Just like everything else, even that hose is not giving me a break tonight here. So I'll go find a smaller straight pick if this doesn't work. But with the larger straight pick that I had on hand, I tried to break the seal there. No can do, get that in straight. So I fed it in through the hole there. I'm just going to call it the hole from now on. And I pushed it through and I poked to the back, okay? Went right through the hose because that's really caked in there on my car. Winter driven, not rust bucket, but rusty one. So I'm going to poke through until I can pull it out. Or I'm just going to leave the pick in that position and put needle nose pliers on the end of the hose and yank it off. But be prepared to cut your hands while you're doing this. So some combination of this is going to do this for me. Alright, so getting a bit more serious again. Do not put a straight pick or any pick in there actually. We'll get in there and I'll show you the lip that's a bit weird on this aluminum inlet. But this hose is really seized on there. With the short piece of remaining hose that I had, I grabbed it with the needle nose pliers a few times. And then just with the needle nose, peel it around, okay? Try to peel it this way, that way, that way. Eventually you'll break the seal and you'll be able to pull it right out with the needle nose. This is much safer than using a pick to break the seal on this particular hose end. Okay, this worked for me. It was all needle nose. That straight pick I took out after because I did hear a nasty click when I entered it. You see there, it's got a lip there just like the other aluminums, but for some reason from this angle with any type of pick, it really takes a beating on that lip there. The lip is a bit different shape than the other one, so just play it safe and do what I said with the needle nose pliers. Prying back and then pulling it out. No picks on this one. So we'll get to the cleaning bits of the video in a bit, but the hose there, I put everything together. Let me pull that a bit there. So I'm going to use a piece of wire to tie the two cut ends together for when I go to match on the diagram, order the parts, blah blah blah, if the part supplier needs more information. Do not forget to put that little plate back if you took it away. This is just one piece you can leave in the carrier and not have to worry about losing. Okay? This is for the shock strut hole mount for the front piece. And yeah, those shock struts are like 900 US each on ECS. I think I saw them. So don't lose them and hope they don't lose tension and shock or what. I don't even know how they work, but just don't lose them. Don't break them. Don't drop them. I want to take a look at the hillbilly strapping thing, which opened up a bit more hand space for me. I really don't recommend this, okay, because this is completely against most of the stuff that I always say, which is the whole AC condenser thing is the main reason I don't take the whole front clip off, okay? I don't want to go recharge AC and have issues with stuff in AC. Take the rad off, and there's a million electrical connectors. The other day I was like, you know what, let me just take off the whole front clip and make this a bit easier. But that AC condenser would be on the ground if I don't want to recharge. There's that oil leak sneaking up on us again. And the more I kept looking, there's so much weird electrical and components that you cannot even recognize on this car until you dig into diagrams, that yeah, this is best left as a service position car. On an A4 I'd probably be comfortable doing this. S4, RS4, no man, this is enough for this phase of the project. The next phase, when we do other stuff, I'm going engine out, okay? Unless it's minor stuff again, and I might do service position. But let's see with this what happened, okay? So, as you can see from here, it opened a ton more space. Both sides of service position are still tilted down. Where it has bended, it really hasn't, okay? I mean, the rad does have just a bit of this way motion, but it's nothing serious. I didn't hear anything creak. A lot of stuff is okay. Every single line and fitting as far as I can see. There's just a lot of, there's just some more space. I'm never going to use the word a lot more space. But here now, see, yeah, there you can really see it, okay? She's tilted forward to a degree. Nothing's damaged though, okay? I don't know how good of a tour I can give you guys without this car being on a lift. And seeing that I'm kind of tired now, and I still got to finish all the cleaning and leave this garage ready for the next phase of this, because I really want to put in my parts order and get this thing back out of this garage and use it. The strap, again, very minimal force here, okay? It's very minimal. Almost all the force is at the bottom. But had I brought it up, if you don't use your physics of hillbilly physics properly, you are going to start damaging and breaking things. And where that strap goes is very crucial. There's only a 2-inch gap where you can do this, okay? How much did this extra space help? I don't know. I can't really go back and tell you. I think it helped. It definitely helped me get my hands in there better. Had I done this from the beginning, I probably would have had a lot easier of a time with a lot of stuff on this car. Because even with this being here and you're on your back, say for all the water pump stuff that I struggled with in the past, if you're careful and you don't trip over it and you take away everybody's garage door openers, okay? Everybody, you take it away from them. They get a house key. Because you don't want anyone opening the garage door. And put a lock, unplug the garage door thing if you do this, okay? Take every safety measure if you're going to do this. Because I might do this again when I go to reinstall my stuff, because it really has opened up a lot more space. And you know what? I am going to take it off tonight. I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm not crazy like that. Plus, you got to use a garage for life. But what I'm saying is I'm going to do this again when I do my reinstall of the water pump and parts underneath, because it opens up more space. I know I'm repeating, but I'm tired, so bear with me here. The main thing, okay, what I was trying to say was, when I put all of this back together, okay, everything that I've done If there's failure points, we're going to see it leak coolant, leak oil, parts fail, blow up, I don't know, whatever. But one thing again that I've seen is they say that water pumps can leak from the weep hole for the first duration of time, which is a very annoying feature of these water pumps. I don't know why they do it until the seals build themselves up. That's most likely what the reason is, which is the whole cam girdle thing that I'm cleaning it up there for, is because if this car had been sitting, that could have been residual oil, and we will find out. So we're going to run this car for a ton of time in this garage once everything's back together, and we will see if that water pump weep hole leak from a new water pump goes away, which it should. Hopefully it doesn't weep at all. I've heard it sometimes happens. But then we will also find out if there were any components that we cracked or braked on this strapping thing, because I'm going to do it again and nothing has happened, okay? Everything still has a ton of slack. I'm not going to repeat myself a million times anymore. This seems safe to do, but I've also mentioned all the precautions you need to take if you're going to do such a thing, but yeah, okay, we'll just keep going forward with this, alright? I'm going to stop talking there. So I'm going to do all the cleaning that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'll videotape those. We will clean up this new oil leak now that we got the tilt and put it back. But before, or actually, you know what? I'm going to take the strap off at the very end. Because if something's going to creak or break, I'd rather it happens today and I can fix it, as opposed to another day. But nothing's going to get worse here. Alright, so no, I'll change my mind again. Alright, I'm going to take the strap off. I'm going to do all my cleanings, and I will video those and show you again. Okay, so you know what I will do though? No, I'm too tired to put the tripod up and show you guys. Okay, I'm going to slowly release the strap and get back to you in a bit. Alright, so you can see there's a bunch of slack in the strap now. So what I did is I kneeled down on the pad. I positioned the hitch back on the rock, because I did say I'm going to gently let out the strap. I had my hand with the hitch on the rock, on the bricks. I positioned it properly where that support mount is. That strap still had its own little 2-inch gap there where it can safely strap on. But as soon as I let go of the tension mechanism on the strap there, the carrier, pew, jumped right onto the hitch, okay? Because we know that's where it sits. But had I not done it, or if you have two people and you do the strap, okay, they don't hold it for you the whole... Don't do the strap if you have two people. Just have them hold it, put them to work, okay? Kneel down and hold it up while I'm working, kind of thing. But, so with the strap, I had to have the hitch ready in the right spot because it quickly came down, the whole carrier, alright? But it was very safe. Again, nothing broke or creaked. I heard one hair of a plastic creak at the very end. I looked at the back of the rad, everything, all is fine. No plastic bits have fallen down. So, there was a very minor creak, and we're still in business, alright? I'm going to take this as a win. Do the cleaning, and I'll get back with you soon. You see, absolutely nothing broke. Everything's fine. Barely any pressure on the back of the rad fan plastic. If none, okay? Just went down this area. The pressure was almost all at the bottom. This is the third time I've been using this cat litter, and it picks up oil, kind of clears itself up, and I keep using it and it works. The whole brick smashing thing is very important, okay? It really helps to powder it and clean it up. Alright, so tie wire is more efficient, but I had some thin zip ties just to hold all these pieces of coolant hose together while I store them before I order parts. Keep this stuff together. Don't sleep on it, okay? You'll lose stuff, forget stuff. We're still going to figure out how I do with this once it comes time to order parts and put stuff back together. So really getting the technique down. Pick up the brick, push it down, do a couple circles. Lift it up, catch a couple cat litters underneath, big granules, and keep going in big circles. It'll pick up all the coolant and oil quite quickly. Of course, right when you finish cleaning up, you grab an oil pen to do this brass cleaning idea that I have for the cam girdle seal area, and I dump little squirts of oil everywhere. See, that's what happens when you wipe it with the coolant covered rag. I have now dirtied the floor again. But this is my problem for being tired right now. So I'm just going to leave that stuff, wipe it a little bit. But the cat litter stuff works very well. Okay, you guys saw what was going on there. This is fresh stuff. Okay, everything around here was messed up. But yeah, I want to finish most of this, so it was a long time ago in the video. Let me give you a quick before. Idiot movement, but maybe not so idiot movement. Okay, so you can see that I bent my brass wire brush there, and I've got my can of brake cleaner here, so I'm not hiding anything of my stupidity of movement here. But look at that, okay, because I couldn't get it in there with minimal brake cleaner, so I started spraying the brake cleaner and going at it with the brass wire brush. And that is gasket material, okay, from the cam girdle seal area. So that was most likely separated, because on the second push that I did, brake cleaner, I've never seen it be that fast to remove some kind of sealant, okay? But what am I going to do? That could just be the outside, hopefully it's focusing, that could just be the outside bead of the sealant. It clearly is a leak from there, okay? There's nothing further up from the valve cover. So what I'm going to do is document this slowly, and as much as a lot of the RS4 people are going to hate it, I'm most likely going to try some kind of a hack sealant on the portion that comes off from the outside, because I can access it here, and see if it holds temporarily, okay, until I do the engine pull. Because just for a little bit of pulled off seal there, I'm not going to pull the whole motor, okay? And you can't really see it, but there's a lot more. I got a lot of it off, but on that circle thing at the front there, underneath the valve cover in the right center of your screen, there's a lot of oil on that too. But I'm kind of scared to spray brake cleaner in there anymore, so I'm just gonna cake up this brass wire brush with no more material and see where we're at the end. Alright, so a rag with some brake cleaner or just the brush was absolutely hopeless. I kept putting brake cleaner and going with the brass wire brush. Absolutely needed it to be able to clean this area up. So I have good hope, because look, I mean, I don't know how well I can show you, but when I'm here, when I look past that heat shield, there is no oil leak at all on this cam girdle seal on this side. So it's a good sign, because it was just this front accessible corner for me. And there's a little bit more peeling at the top, I'll show you now that I've finally cleaned it up. But we will see if it leaks again until we do engine out. To do valve cover gaskets, you can do engine in, but I don't know if I'm doing it in this parts order, because it's not really that big of a deal, and there's almost no leak on this side, and there's just some sweating on the other side. So this is where we are. We're just this section, we're going to get some of the correct sealant and seal it from the outside for now. Please don't lose your minds. It's okay. The car does not have any major oil leak. This is just temporary. And you see over there, center right, you can see a little bit of the same peeling. We're going to use the same method there. So I'm just going to clean it a bit more off camera probably when I do the reinstall, but I will show you guys exactly what I do and what I use for this. So let's go over to the other side. You can see that the top part of the cam girdle seal on this side is very clean. But what I was talking about, so you can see the valve cover is kind of wet there. Not even going to bother cleaning it up, because it's just some valve cover sweat again from the front. Interestingly, all of them are from the front. I would never be able to get camera angles, people who have these cars know, any further back. But when you look at it yourself, or when I go with the flashlight, everything is clean. Look at that passenger side cam girdle seal there. Clean. So I'm very lucky in this sense, but eventually I will completely do them. So that corner will get repaired. And looking through here, and looking through the driver's headlight at the same cam girdle seal area there that we had a lot of oil, you can see it's very clean, no leak at all, and everything just has a bit of sweating that originates. You can see top center of your screen, it originates from the valve cover gasket on the driver's side. Very minor. That's just a shadow you see on the cam girdle seal at the center bottom of your screen. So we're fine on this side. We don't have to do the engine pull anytime soon, hopefully, if I do everything right with this repair. And what else was I supposed to clean up? There was something else. Yes, the rad on the other side, I'm going to brake clean all the way through it. And when I was putting the strap, no, there's a million holes open in this car leaking coolant. So everything that drips on the floor just drips. But I am going to brake clean that tonight. And let's see if on the other videos that we do before we start putting everything back together, if that rad somehow for some reason has more pink coolant in it. Because then I'm going to seriously start to consider some other options for the driver's side auxiliary radiator. Gonna plug my tender back in soon, but let's brake clean that and I'll give you a before and after for now, because that was a long time ago in the video too. So there you can see some of the pink stuff. Pretty tired, so just rewind the video to see that better. If somehow you're in the same boat as me, obviously slide a pan under. But make sure all of these electricals in the horn are outside, okay, of the pan. You don't want any of the grime, gunk, brake cleaner, coolant, oil getting into your connectors and creating more problems. Also check at the back to make sure if you have any loose electrical crap like that. Brake cleaner is dripping down there, okay. I had the best luck going in from the back of the rad, spraying the brake cleaner. But even with that, I'm a bit late with the camera, but you see it's trickling down the fins there. Further up there, you see I got to get in there. You know, with the little short nozzle, you got to use the short nozzle and probably go through a full can to get it cleaned from both sides. So yeah, I'm going to get it all cleaned up with the nozzle, and I'll put a shot of it so that if we come back tomorrow the next day and it's pink again, we know we got a serious problem on our hands, and this is going to have to be on the parts order list, or some kind of mod will have to be done to delete it. I've always been the kind of person that just buys brake clean, but man, this Loctite stuff is so much better than the Canadian Tire Certified brand. Like that's what I was using. The Canadian Tire Certified brand doesn't even take the red nozzle on it. So I wasted a bunch of time with that, and believe it or not, that was 16 Canadian dollars a Canadian Tire, the certified one. Unreal. The Loctite stuff I got in bulk, so it's a good price, but man, it's so much stronger in the garage here. But yeah, that here, like 10 seconds with the Loctite, and look at how much cleaner they are. Like I barely went into the fins because I have to put a respirator on. This Loctite stuff is really strong. So I am going to really blast it out and give you a final after shot too. Woo! My eyes are burning. With the respirator, yo, safety glasses you definitely need. Because that stuff's really strong. It'll still sting your eyes with safety glasses. But, you see, let's take a look inside there. I got to do a bit more cleaning. Way up there, underneath this plastic, if I can get my head low enough. See how clean it is? And it's dry. So I wanted to make sure we don't have anything dripping down from there tomorrow. Fooling us, thinking that we have a leak. So it's dry there. It's dry at the back. There is not much pink left. I'm just going to give it a little bit more sprays. But my eyes are burning, so I'll clean it up a bit more and we'll see what happens. Alright, so all the brake cleaner is dripping down. I got another set from the back. Let me show you the back so you can see how clean it is. Although it was pretty much that dry and clean right from the get-go. Okay, everything is clean. Absolutely no pink staining. Anything you see is shadows. Alright, that's as clean as we're going to get from the front. Even if you see some pink, trust me, I see no pink here. And I will tell you, there's just some bugs stuck in there now. So that brake cleaner is going to come out of there slowly. And we'll see, hopefully there's no pink stuff anymore tomorrow. Now, where could this pink stuff have been coming from if it was not the red? So see where the red is? If there was stuff in that auxiliary water pump or whatever that component is called when I shifted things kind of violently sometimes, maybe it was coolant from there that dripped through. Maybe it was from that pipe. Maybe it was from one of the coolant pipes a little further down. Or maybe it was from the top port of the rad itself, right there at the bottom center of your screen. I really don't know. It does seem like a bit too much coolant dispersed everywhere for it to have been coming from one of these hose hole connection places of coolant. But fingers crossed, okay? Let's see what happens.